Noah had always believed that trust was the strongest bond between two people. He grew up learning that if someone stayed by your side for years, they would never hurt you. That belief shaped his life and his heart. The person he trusted most was Alina, his childhood friend. They had known each other since school. They shared lunches, secrets, and long walks after sunset. Everyone around them thought they would one day become a couple. Noah never rushed it. He wanted their friendship to stay pure and safe. Deep inside, though, his emotions had grown into something deeper and more fragile. As adults, they still spent most of their time together. Alina knew his fears, his dreams, and his failures. Noah knew her laughter, her sadness, and her silent moments. When Noah lost his job once, Alina stayed with him late at night, telling him he would rise again. When Alina was lonely, Noah listened without interrupting. Their lives seemed connected in a way that made Noah believe destiny had written their story long ago. One evening, after months of holding his emotions inside, Noah decided to speak the truth. The sky was dark blue, and the streetlights flickered like nervous thoughts. They sat on a bench near the old park where they used to play as children. Noah's hands trembled. His heart seemed louder than the cars passing by. "Alina," he said slowly, "I don't see you as just a friend anymore. I love you. I have loved you for a long time." The words hung heavy in the air. Alina did not look surprised, but she did not look happy either. She looked away and stared at the road. "Noah," she said gently, "you mean so much to me. But I don't know what is in my heart right now. I need time." Noah believed her. He trusted her words completely. He told himself that love needed patience. He walked home that night nervous but hopeful. For the first time, he thought his future might finally begin. Days passed. Alina became distant. She replied less to messages. She canceled plans. Noah noticed the change but chose not to question it. He told himself she was confused and needed space. Trust made him silent when doubt tried to speak. One afternoon, while walking home from work, Noah saw something that stopped him in the middle of the street. Across the park, Alina stood with a man he had never seen before. They were close, too close. She was laughing in a way Noah had not heard for weeks. The man held her hand. They walked together like people who belonged to each other. Noah sensed the world tilt. He hid behind a tree. Not because he wanted to spy, but because his legs refused to move. His mind replayed her words from the bench. "I need time." Time for what? Time to choose someone else. He went home without speaking to anyone. That night he did not sleep. He stared at the ceiling, counting every memory they shared. He remembered her smile when he bought her coffee. He remembered her voice when she said his name. Now those memories seemed sharp instead of comforting. The next day Alina called him. "We need to talk," she said. They met at the same park bench. This time the air was cold. Alina avoided his eyes. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said. "I didn't know how to tell you. I met someone else. It just happened." Noah wanted to shout, but no sound came out. His heart was empty. He had trusted her with his deepest truth, and she had walked away from it without warning. "I trusted you," he said quietly. "You could have told me." "I was afraid," Alina replied. "I didn't want to lose you." "But you already did," Noah said. She tried to reach for his hand, but he stepped back not in anger, but in pain. The person he believed in most had become the one who hurt him the most. After that day, Noah changed. He stopped going to places they used to visit together. He avoided friends who reminded him of her. His nights became silent and long. He did not cry loudly. He carried his sadness like a heavy coat he could not remove. He began to question everything. Was trust a mistake? Was honesty foolish? He had opened his heart, and now he seemed weak and small. The world appeared unfair, and love seemed dangerous. One evening, While standing alone on his balcony, Noah looked at the city lights and whispered to himself, "I trusted someone close." And it changed everything. He did not know if that change would destroy him or teach him something new. What he did not know was that this pain would push him toward a different path, a path he never expected, a path that would test his heart again. And the story of his trust had only just begun. Noah was hollow after seeing Alina with someone else. Every corner of his apartment reminded him of her. Her laughter seemed to echo in the empty rooms. He avoided his phone, fearing her name might appear on the screen. Even the little things they shared, books, coffee mugs, messages, suddenly seemed like a weight. He realized he had trusted too much, and the trust had left a wound that would not heal easily. The pain was sharp, constant, and inescapable. Every day he forced himself to go to work, meet deadlines, and act normal. But inside, his heart was breaking. He had been betrayed by the one person he had believed in completely. Weeks passed in a blur. Noah stopped answering messages from mutual friends who asked about Alina. He canceled plans with colleagues and spent evenings walking aimlessly in quiet streets trying to think. The city around him was alive, full of laughter and conversations. But he seemed invisible. The trust he had given Alina had not just been broken. It had left a scar on his ability to believe in people again. Every time he remembered her smile, or the way she had taken his hand, he sensed a stab of longing he couldn't shake. He tried to convince himself it was better to close his heart entirely to protect himself from further pain. One afternoon, while sitting in a small cafe near the river, he noticed someone looking for a table. The cafe was crowded, but she approached him anyway. Her name was Mira. She had soft brown eyes that seemed to see through his quiet pain, and a gentle presence that made the room seem lighter. Noah hesitated but nodded, and she sat down. They exchanged small talk at first, the kind that was ordinary but comforting. She asked about the book he was reading, the view outside, and whether he came to this cafe often. Noah answered cautiously, not revealing too much. He wasn't ready to trust anyone again, not after Alina. But Mira didn't push. She didn't ask about his past or why he looked sad. She simply smiled and made small observations about the world around them, the kind of things that were easy to notice but rare to share with someone else. Noah found himself relaxing without realizing it. Conversation flowed naturally. For the first time in weeks, he sensed his heart pause its constant ache. There was something gentle about her. He didn't have an obligation to impress her or explain himself. He just seemed seen. In the following days, their meetings became more frequent. Sometimes it was at the cafe, sometimes in the park, sometimes just walking through the streets. As the sun set, Noah found himself telling her small details about his life. Little victories, frustrations at work, dreams he hadn't shared with anyone. And she listened. She didn't judge. She didn't demand. She just stayed present, offering understanding in her quiet way. He began to sense a new kind of comfort, a slow rebuilding of a heart he thought was permanently broken. Yet even as he grew closer to Mira, shadows of Alina remained. He found himself thinking of the moments they had shared, the trust he had given, and the sudden betrayal. Sometimes he would catch himself comparing Mira to Alina, questioning if he could ever be fully safe with someone again. He knew it wasn't fair to Mira, who had done nothing but be patient and kind. But fear had become a companion he couldn't ignore. Then one evening as he returned home from work, there was a message waiting for him. It was from Alina. She wanted to meet. She was apologetic, full of regret, and wanted to explain her choices. Noah sensed a rush of emotions, confusion, anger, longing, and the old pain that hadn't fully healed. He knew meeting her could reopen the wound he was trying to close. But curiosity and maybe a part of his heart that never completely let go made him agree. They met in a quiet cafe, the same one where he had first met Mira. Alina's eyes were filled with tears. She spoke about mistakes, timing, and fear. She admitted that she had made a choice too quickly, that she had not realized what she was losing, and that seeing him now made her understand the depth of her actions. Noah listened, silent, sensing every word press against the raw edges of his heart. He wanted to shout, to cry, to demand answers, but he remained still. He had learned something crucial in the weeks of pain. His worth wasn't tied to Elena's choices. When she reached out to take his hand, he moved back, not in anger, but in a quiet strength that had been missing before. "I trusted you once," he said softly, "and it changed me. I can't go back to what we were. I need to move forward." Alina's eyes reflected sorrow, but she nodded, understanding that some things couldn't be undone. Noah walked away, sensing the weight lift slightly, the first step toward reclaiming himself. That night he thought of Mira. He realized that she had been there without demanding, without conditions. She had allowed him to grieve, to open his heart slowly, and to trust again. He knew he had a choice: stay trapped in the memory of betrayal, or take a chance on someone who showed him the meaning of trust without fear. The following days were cautious but hopeful. Noah met Mira by the river. As the sun painted the sky in soft oranges and pinks, he confessed his fears, the remaining shadows of Alina, and the struggle to trust again. Mira listened and held space for him. "Trust is brave," she said. "Even when it hurts, it's worth trying again." Those words resonated with him. He understood that his heart could still heal, still grow, and still love. Slowly, Noah started to let himself care for Mira without fear. Their relationship didn't rush. They walked through small joys, coffee in the morning, quiet talks by the river, shared laughter over silly things. The pain from Alina didn't disappear entirely, but it became a teacher rather than a prison. Noah learned that trust could be painful, but it could also open doors to unexpected connections, new love, and hope that he thought he had lost. In the end, Noah realized that heartbreak was not the end. It was a beginning. Meeting Mira showed him that even after betrayal, the heart could find someone patient, kind, and gentle. Someone who wouldn't demand or rush, but simply be there. The experience taught him to value trust wisely, to recognize true care, and to allow himself to live again. And so Noah's life changed. Trust had hurt him, but it also guided him to someone who deserved his heart, someone who could heal the broken places without judgment or fear. The journey was not instant, not easy, but it was real. Snorts. He learned that love could be patient, trust could be earned slowly, and the heart, no matter how wounded, could always find a reason to hope again. Noah's story became proof that pain from trust is temporary if you open your heart to the right person. Alina had taught him loss, but Mira taught him what love could be when trust is met with care. And that understanding shifted his life completely, leading him toward a future he had not imagined. A life full of gentle hope, slow healing, and the possibility of lasting happiness. Noah stood frozen for a moment, watching Alina walk away. Her words still echoed in his mind, filled with regret and sorrow. But he knew the chapter with her had ended. He had trusted her, and that trust had been broken. He had allowed himself to know the deepest kind of pain, and he had learned a truth that would stay with him forever. Not every person we love will love us back in the way we hope. But that realization didn't destroy him. It shaped him. It made him stronger, more cautious, but also more open to what was real and honest. He had spent so many days in sorrow, replaying memories and imagining what could have been. But now, a door to something new had quietly opened. The next morning, Noah sensed a strange mix of emptiness and relief. Alina's absence left a void, but it also cleared space for his own life. He walked through the city streets with a lighter step, noticing things he hadn't seen for weeks. The way sunlight reflected off windows, the distant laughter of children, the smell of fresh bread from a corner bakery. Each small detail reminded him that the world was still moving forward and he could too. He thought about Mira, who had patiently been part of his life during these weeks, never forcing, never rushing, simply being a steady presence. She had shown him that trust could be gentle and patient, not demanding and fragile. Noah went to meet Mira at their usual spot by the river. The water shimmered with the early sunlight, and the quiet breeze was refreshing against his skin. Mira was already there holding a cup of coffee, her hair falling lightly over her shoulders. She smiled when she saw him, and something inside him relaxed instantly. He had avoided opening up to anyone for so long, but with Mira, it was natural. They didn't rush into conversations about love or emotions. They simply talked about their day, the changing seasons, and small things that often went unnoticed. That was what Noah had missed. The comfort of someone who listened without judgment, who shared quiet moments without expectation. Over the next few days, their bond deepened. They spent mornings walking through the park, sharing coffees and talking about dreams and fears. Noah sensed the tightness loosen, and laughter returned to his voice. With Mira, he could speak freely, express doubts, and still be safe. She never demanded that he forget Alina completely, and she didn't try to replace the past. Instead, she helped him understand that the past was part of his story, but it didn't have to define the rest of his life. Noah began to see the difference between fleeting attraction and genuine connection. The latter built slowly with patience, trust, and shared understanding. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low over the river, Noah stopped walking and looked at Mira. "I was afraid to trust again," he said softly. "But you showed me that not all trust ends in pain. You've been patient, kind, and honest. And I want to keep learning how to be like that too with you." Mira reached out and held his hand. Her grasp was gentle, affirming, and steady. "We'll take it slowly," she said. "We'll build trust together, step by step. No rushing, no pressure, just honesty." Noah sensed a comfort he hadn't known since before Alina. It wasn't the fiery, confusing passion of first love. It was calmer, deeper, and steady. He realized that love wasn't always about excitement or drama. It could be quiet, supportive, and healing. Mira's presence reminded him that trust could be rebuilt even after it had been broken in the harshest way. The pain he had endured had taught him to value patience, honesty, and true care. He no longer feared opening his heart because he had learned to recognize the difference between someone who had hurt him and someone who would nurture him. As weeks turned into months, Noah and Mira's connection grew stronger. They shared ordinary moments cooking dinner together, watching the sunset, walking through the city streets. But each moment was meaningful because it was filled with mutual respect and understanding. Noah's heart, once heavy with betrayal, now seemed light and hopeful. He had experienced the sharp sting of lost trust, but that experience had guided him toward a love that was authentic and patient. Mira didn't demand anything from him. She simply shared her life in a way that invited him to trust again. Naturally, Noah also realized that his journey through heartbreak had given him insight into himself. He understood his limits, his needs, and what he truly wanted in a partner. He had loved deeply, trusted fully, and known the pain of betrayal. But he had also discovered resilience, courage, and the ability to love again. He no longer blamed himself for trusting Alina. Instead, he acknowledged that the experience was necessary for him to recognize the value of someone like Mira. He had learned that trust could hurt, but it could also guide him to the right person, someone who deserved his heart and who would honor it. One evening, as they sat on a bench by the river, Mira leaned her head on his shoulder. The sky glowed in shades of pink and orange, reflecting their quiet happiness. Noah held her hand and knew a sense of peace he had never known before. He realized that life had brought him to this moment through pain, learning, and patience. His heart had been broken, but that break had opened space for something stronger and more enduring. He didn't need dramatic declarations or instant love. He had found someone who was steady, kind, and present, and that he understood was far more valuable than any fleeting romance. Noah also began to see that love and trust were choices. He had once chosen to trust someone close who had hurt him. That choice had led to heartbreak, but it had also taught him about himself, about patience, and about recognizing genuine care. Now he chose to trust Mirror, not blindly, but thoughtfully, with a heart that was wiser and more aware. He understood that mistakes were part of life, but learning from them made the next step more meaningful. Love was no longer reckless for him. It was intentional, thoughtful, and hopeful. As the months went by, Noah noticed subtle changes in himself. He laughed more freely, slept more,